on mindfulness and detachment. Mindfulness and detachment is concerned with the right as taught by the Buddha. So to understand the detachment element, mindfulness and detachment, we have to start talking about right view. What is right view in the teaching of Buddha? Right view is concerned with not some place, not a situation, experiential realization. The experience and the truth of not someone is to be seen for oneself. It may be more or less convenient uh, if you believe in that, right? So if you believe in impermanence, or if you believe in no self, or if you believe that mental phenomena, which is concerned with our thoughts, our perceptions, our views, our ideas, our stories, the emotions perhaps that we have, such as anger or a love or a affection or a disgust or a hate. These are mental formations, formations of name. If it was just the experience in the body, we wouldn't call it a mental phenomena. So these are experiences that relate to the mental side. So we have a capacity to be aware of mental phenomena. We have a capacity to be aware of thoughts. We have a capacity to be aware of perceptions, or like an urge, a mental urge to do something, to go somewhere, to say something. Mindfulness of mental phenomena. Mindfulness of ideas, labels, terms, concepts, beliefs. Now, on the material side, we can say the sensations. So if you rub your fingers together, everyone can try on their own. I hope people are generous enough here to do that. Rub your fingers together. And so there's an experience of sensations, material sensations. There's also a corresponding material sensation or material experience when we have a mental phenomena of anxiety or depression or a certain thought, and then there's a corresponding material sensation, physical sensation. Now, mindfulness of means that there's a quality of awareness that is piercing, like a piercing sound. It's direct and it's experiential, and you can think about it or describe it or have ideas about it, but ultimately, that's not particularly necessary. It's not particularly necessary to think about sensations in the same way that it's not particularly necessary to think about the thoughts that you have. So this is like the present moment action of mindfulness. The action of mindfulness, the action of awareness of present moment. Now in the material, we also have, we have phones, glass, trees. We have natural material phenomena like a natural wind. We also have a synthetic material phenomena like air conditioning or the wind of a fan. So mindfulness is to be mindful of phenomena, taking place in the now. You're thinking a thought now or you're not. There's a table in front of you now or it's not. There's sensations when you rub your fingers together or there aren't. So this action of mindfulness is an action of, let's say, present moment awareness of. Can be a thought, can be a sound, can be a sight, can be a feeling in the body. Name or form. Ideas or concepts, materials, physicality. So moment by moment, there are many perceptions, many thoughts that not always, thoughtlessness is also real, quite real. Moment after moment, you are alive, you are a human being, so there's experiences taking place, whether they be thoughts or emotions or perceptions or materials that you can see or that you can feel or that you can experience in the body. You eat materials, you eat foods, you experience those foods in the body, right? So materiality and mentality. And moment by moment, these aspects are there most of the time. If you're in a dreamless sleep, so mindfulness by itself is, well, let's say it's awareness. And if we could simply be completely aware without difficulty, then let's leave it at that. Be mindful, be aware, be happy, be free, live your life, etc. But this is not the case. This is not the situation that you or I it appears to be that way, seems to be that way, doesn't it? A lot of the time. That there are these difficulties, that there are these boundaries, that there are these complicated, complex emotions, negative mental states, afflictions, difficulties that we're encountering. So to just say, be aware, can be helpful if you're emphasizing that. Mindfulness, awareness of, in the present. Moment by moment present. Moment, that's where life is. That's where seeing is. That's where hearing is. Imagine if you lost your seeing. You could only lose your seeing in the present moment. So we have to dare to be aware without doing anything else or without prioritizing anything else, so that our awareness is energized, fueled, brightened. Okay, we can have a very dull, sleepy awareness, or we're watching the latest Netflix series, or watching a movie and we're kind of zoned out, or we're drunk, or we're high. Okay, so you're aware, but you're intoxicated. You're drunk on that media, you're drunk on uh, stress, depression, anxiety, non practical, complicated thinking. So, what is detachment? How do we practice detachment? Well, to practice the detachment, there must be an attachment. If there is not a attachment, then what can be detached from? Intuitive. It's a kind of intuitive point, right? So, like I said, if you're just aware and there are no boundaries, are no difficulties, are no complications, no problems, leave it at that. Be aware, become a Buddha, be free. But if you are aware enough, serious enough about being aware to see that there are problems within yourself or problems in the world, then we can see that there is a grasping or there is an attachment. Because if we're not attached to something or someone, etc., then we're just aware. No problem. Free, aware. So when a thought comes up, regardless of if it's a good thought or a bad thought or a holy thought or a naughty thought, when a thought comes up, it is just what it is. In a similar way that the sensations, when you rub your fingers together, just are what they are. But oftentimes, when a thought comes up, we grasp onto, we cling onto, we hold onto that thought as being important. Or we affiliate, entangle ourselves with that thought to a degree that we make up or assume up more and more thoughts based on that thought, more grasping, such as sometimes when we feel anxiety, we get so tangled up in that anxiety that we actually fuel that anxiety with our grasping, with our attachment to it. Whereas if you felt anxiety, but you weren't attached to it or identifying with it, it would just be what it is. And in that sense, anxiety would not be something to be anxious about. It's just like that. So to be mindful of phenomena such as pain in the body or suffering in the mind, to be mindful of happenings in such a way that we are more and more aware of the grasping, the attachment. Now, if you are grasping onto something, grasping means to grasp onto something, it has to be solid, right? You can't grasp onto the air. You can't grasp onto space. It's impossible. So it has to be solid to grasp onto it. If you would be so generous as to entertain the notion of the teachings of Buddha, concerned with the right view, which is the view concerned with anatta, anicca, and dukkha, okay, we would work with a kind of thought model in which this phone is not separate from anything. That the separation of this phone from everything is a thought and is not reality. And in the same way that this phone, much beyond much more so than it is permanent or fixed or in a fixed state, it is impermanent. To the degree that when I try to turn on this phone, it may work, it may not. Because the nature of this phone is not to be fixed. The nature of this phone is to be impermanent, is to dissolve literally. So in reality, the permanence of objects, the permanence of thoughts, the permanence of material or mental objects is false, is not true. Now, if we can entertain with that and work with that kind of thought model, it would make sense that if we were to try to hold on to this in an ultimate sense, whatever this may be, whether it's a thought or a feeling or a situation or a person, that in holding on to it, in grasping it, in attaching to it, we would be ignorant. How can you grasp onto space? If you grasp space and say, I have gotten a hold of space, you are ignorant of the nature of space, which it is ungraspable. And the notion that you've grasped onto something separate from everything would also be ignorant, as it is impossible for anything to exist separately from everything. So perhaps you could say that you've grasped, you've gotten a hold, you've gotten attached to everything. But how can you attach to everything? You cannot even philosophically, intellectually comprehend everything. We cannot even comprehend the depths of the ocean. let alone the depths of space, let alone the depths of our own mind. So, mindfulness and detachment, or mindfulness and the experience of generosity, is the solution to ignorance or not understanding the truth and grasping onto, holding onto that which cannot be grasped, that which is fundamentally impermanent, changing, inseparable from everything, and that which is unsatisfactory. Why would you want to attach to something? Why would you want to drink a liquid, a water, that could not satiate your thirst? You would not want to. That would be water that you wouldn't be interested to drink. So when we attach to someone, the view of someone, when we attach to the view of something, when we attach, grasp to the view of some place or some situation as an object of the mind or a material object. If I grasp onto my phone, if I attach to my phone, I'm going to be in a state of ignorance and attachment because this phone is impermanent, unsatisfactory, and not separate from anything anyway. So I'd be in a kind of delusional state. My phone, my precious. All right. So the Buddha taught us to practice mindfulness and detachment. Mindfulness and detachment is not about someone. It's not about some situation. It's not about some place. It's not about some idea or some thought. A thought is more so about impermanence than it is about itself. Because the nature of that thought, the nature of its selfness, is inseparability from everything. And in the same way, its expression of permanence or solidity is always an expression of its dissolution. So there have been many teachings about the mighty oak inside of the seed, the oak seed. But within the oak seed, within the potential for the oak tree, within the oak seed, even deeper than that, within that is the cessation of it. The Buddha taught us all formations are impermanent. All formations will come to an end. So mindfulness is like awareness, and detachment is like a willingness to uncouple from that which we clasp, which we grasp, which we get attached to, which we get involved with, believing in, concerned with. Now, when you practice mindfulness and detachment, you are concerned with the true Buddha, the true Dharma, and the true Sangha. And the reason that it is concerned with that is because you are practicing mindfulness and detachment. not because you are attached to the idea of Buddhism, etc. Although many experiences have come about, where have they gone to? And where did those experiences come from? The wrong view is the view of the real true person in the real true story. The view of someone, some situation, some place, some time, etc. The right view is the view of not someone, not some place, not some time, not some situation. The power of detachment is that it negates appearances. The power of detachment is the power that when you walk outside and you see a cloud that looks like the Buddha, you do not become insane. If we cannot detach, we will become insane. By the nature of anything. If you see something or hear something or feel something or experience something, and you cannot detach from that, cannot uncouple from the involvement with that, you will become insane very quickly. So detachment is not separate from awareness. Awareness is the nature, and awareness is the principle, and detachment is the practice. Awareness does not grasp. It does not hold. It does not contain. There is no inside or outside in awareness. So the principle of awareness, or the principle of non-thought, allows the practice of detachment to take place. And the practice of detachment allows the realization of the principle. Right view is the principle. Right action is the practice. The right action, case by case, okay? As monks and Buddhists, we're not fanatics. Is to practice doing good deeds. Serve and try to help in a way that's not about your desire. The right action is to follow precepts. All of this is only to have reverence for cause and effect. You need to build a reverence for, an appreciation of cause and effect. You need to believe in cause and effect. If you do not believe in cause and effect, then it will be very difficult to help. Once we believe in cause and effect, we will have the good conditions for a human life, the life of a human being, the life of a being that can recognize non-thought. And when a being can recognize non-thought, a being has the opportunity to become a Buddha or to become enlightened. However, because of cause and effect, because of karma, not because of someone, but because of cause and effect, that being may be bound up, tangled in, spiraling in affiliations from past lives or past experiences. So the solution to the karmic retribution of past lives or past experiences is to detach. Aware of, detached from. Aware of, detached from. I am someone, not someone. I am someplace, not someplace. This is some time, not some time. This is some situation, not some situation. Mindfulness and detachment. Concerned with the true Buddha, the true Dhamma, and the true Sangha. That is the Dhamma talk for this evening. Practice seriously and reverently to realize your true nature in this moment.